How's it going, everyone? Thanks for stopping by and checking out my channel. Now, I'm with Cookie today, and we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Now, if you're a longtime subscriber of the channel, back when we used to cover Star Wars Battlefront 2 a couple years back, we used to do these mini podcast-type videos. It's not going to be like an hour-long video, but it's going to be both of us giving our thoughts and opinions on different things going on in Helldivers 2, and if you guys like this sort of thing, we'll keep doing it. But we're going to be going over all the latest news. We're going to go over some of the things that are trending in the community and just give you guys our thoughts and opinions on it all. So with that said, there was some new major orders that just went live today, and Cookie's going to go over them for you guys.
Yes, so this came out this was earlier this morning. New major order involving the Terminids. According to this little 30-second trailer, it said the Helldivers are called to activate the TCS. Once activated, it'll inoculate each planet with termicide, quarantining the bugs permanently. TCS is called the Terminid Control System. So basically, there's like 4 planets that need to be completely wiped out of the bugs. And so this is interesting to me because my first response, which is probably incorrect but worth bringing up anyway, was that I thought it was literally saying this is the end of the Terminids, and by doing this major order, they would be eliminated. I think part of the reason I thought that was the last major order had major significance because it basically started the mechs. So I thought maybe that's where they're going with major orders from here on. I don't think that's going to happen now after watching a lot of the major orders and stuff. I think that would be majorly extreme, but that definitely did cross my mind when I first saw this, especially with all the leaks of the new alien species and stuff. I wondered if they were just going to replace one with the other, but either way, there's a new major order out there for everybody to have fun with, and apparently, and this Terminid control system, either way, I imagine this will be a new interesting thing for the story, the campaign overall of Helldivers 2. This kind of stuff is probably going to keep popping up, and it's, if nothing else, it's a totally new mission for people to try out.
See, the thing is that us as a community, we know about the leaks, and the developers haven't said anything about the leaks. So we're making assumptions based off of the fact that we know that there's leaked enemies, there's a whole new faction in the files. Mm-hmm. So they could be doing that sort of twist. I think this major order is just to tie in the new content that we're supposed to get in a couple days with the new war bond. We're getting new weapons, new capes and stuff. I think It's going to be tied into that somehow. I don't think this means we're going to be getting a new enemy type right away, but who knows? They kind of just go with the flow, those developers. They kind of just go week by week.
I could see this maybe being the first time that they that this is like the first step towards the new enemy, maybe. This is just a wild twist, but maybe this is the first step, and then they're like, oh no, we've unlocked something worse, or something like... I don't know if that makes any sense, because I don't know exactly what the TCS looks like and stuff, but I don't know. They've been kind of creative with this. This is something you don't see video games really do very often, especially live service games and stuff. So this is kind of unique and kind of interesting, so... This could be just a run-of-the-mill major order, but there's a chance this could be a lot more important than it looks.
I agree. I was going to say, I love that this game is doing this. It keeps everyone engaged. And, week to week, it's like, what's going to happen next? We're getting, new content. There's new leaks. There's new weapons. There's always something new to talk about with this game. And you don't have that with most games, like you said. So I think it's super interesting, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. And speaking of the future, there's some pretty interesting news that just dropped over on Reddit, and the CEO responded to it on Twitter. So we have this image that just popped up saying, "They fly now?" ? And it's got this new image. It's an in-game screenshot of a new creature type. It's some sort of bug-looking, dragon-looking flying creature, and it's definitely got the community in a buzz right now. So if we head back over to the leaks from a couple days ago of the new enemy factions, there was this new bug creature that showed up that a lot of people were thinking this was going to be in a new faction. But based off of the images that popped up today, this looks like it's already in the files, and it actually appears on the front cover of the game's artwork, which we'll get into here in a little bit. So we have this post on Reddit, says they fly now, and then we have the CEO that came out on Twitter, and he's been pretty active, and he says, "I've heard rumors of flying bugs in Helldivers 2. I want to officially refute such preposterous claims. Everyone knows that bugs can't fly. He says, and I'm not alone in thinking this. The Ministry of Truth agrees that this is propaganda from bug sympathizers that want to brainwash #lies. And then somebody responded saying, so the leaks are fake? And he says just simply, yes.
Yeah, this is, it's, I mean, from, just from that by itself, it looks like he's literally saying the leaks are fake and there aren't going to be bug flyers. But if you look, deeper into all of the replies and stuff, it's very tongue-in-cheek. It seems very much like he's going along with the, I don't know if you call it a meme of Helldivers, but the over-the-top propaganda patriotism of Helldivers 2. I think they're in the game. The way I would read, based on everything the CEO is saying here, is very tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, no, these could never be a thing. They're definitely not a thing. So the only one that makes me a little of a pause is him literally just saying yes to someone asking if the leaks are fake. I'd be absolutely floored if they're not going to be in the game. Totally
we have this post. Somebody said on Twitter, they said, explain this then, and they showed a screenshot of the game's cover art and they circled a flying bug creature, which is the same exact bug creature that somebody posted about on Reddit. He says image manipulation by traders, and that's all he says. So he's kind of going along with the joke, but I think that they're in the game. Cookie thinks they're in the game. The leaked images say that they're in the game. I think it's a pretty safe bet that we're going to see some sort of flying bug creature at some point, which I think is pretty cool because there's not enough flying things. We have the drop ships and stuff, but they don't really fight you. They just sort of fly in and you could blow them up. A flying bug creature would be pretty cool and would definitely switch up the gameplay.
Yeah, I think it would make things a lot more difficult, which isn't necessarily needed right now in the game, but depending on how they do it, I don't know how easy they'll be to kill. But flying stuff in video games usually gives me a hard time because you can't just line it up because they're coming from a completely different area and you have to go up and down and stuff. It makes it a lot harder when you're dealing with a lot of enemies. So it'll be a real challenge for people to deal with. But it also makes sense because the movie that in a lot of ways this game takes a lot of inspiration from, Starship Troopers, they had these kind of bugs and they were very prominent in the movie. Flying bugs would pick people up and tear them up and stuff. So I don't know if they'll be able to pick people up. That would be pretty epic, but...
Well, if they could pick you up and rip you in half, that'd be awesome.
That'd be terrifying.
It would be terrifying.
Be absolutely
but
mortifying. Awesome. But yeah, it would add a completely different element to the game if something was able to actually pick you up and take you away from your teammates. That would be a very interesting dynamic. I don't know if it'll do that, but either way, it's going to add something totally different to the game.
Mm-hmm. And this kind of segues me into the next piece I want to talk about. There's this post on Reddit, and it has this image, because I've seen these things all around the maps. And it says, for those new among us, these are statues that appear to be molts from the Terminid enemy from Helldivers 1, known as the Hive Lord, a massive sandworm-like creature. The tremors we've been experiencing could be hints that this bad boy is coming soon. And you guys have probably seen these around the map too. It's this big looking worm-like creature and it's solid. It's like a shell of a giant bug, and they've added the addition of earthquakes and tremors, and the ground will shake as you're playing. And this could be potentially like a big boss fight or something, like a big boss type creature, like another Bile Titan that we see in the future. And boy, wouldn't that be crazy? Like a giant worm just comes out of the ground and devours you.
Terrifying. I mean, if they're going to be adding stuff that's in the sky and now stuff underground, oh my god. This will be interesting to see how people react, and that's also something we were going to bring up because of how people reacted to the last patch. But this, it'll be interesting to see how people react to this because this is going to be really, really hard. If they really do that, I mean, imagine trying to take on all the stuff that's out there right now, which is already extremely difficult, and then having stuff coming from the air and coming from underground to kill you. Oh man, that would be incredibly
It'll be rough.
There was also a new patch notes that was released earlier this morning. If you want the comprehensive breakdown of it, we did that a little earlier. You can follow the link here. So from that patch, in this Reddit post, they talk about how the flamethrower feels a lot stronger because the chargers got nerfed and stuff. There's significantly less Bile Titans, higher spawns on the lower enemies, but they're much more manageable. According to this person, overall, just seems like it's working a lot better, seems a lot easier to deal with, and yet still a challenge, which would be exactly what they were going for. So at least from that, looks like this patch is doing what they were kind of hoping for. Also, on another post, talks about how the recoilless rifle might actually be the strongest anti-tank option against the bugs, which I would think is kind of what the developers would want, because when it comes to a gun that shoots as slow as like the EAT or the recoilless rifle does, you probably want it to be the most powerful thing in the game. Otherwise, it basically is useless.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Before this update, I was kind of in the middle. Like, I agreed with the community and disagreed on some points. Like, I want the game to be hard. Late game Helldivers, like levels 7, 8, and 9, should be a hard difficulty mode. Like, it should be chaotic and crazy. But at the same time, when they're sending like 5 chargers at you at once and like 6 or 7 Bile Titans, there's only so much you can do. And it doesn't matter what, like, how many stratagems you call in, you can't take out like 8 Bile Titans at the same time. So the fact that they're, reducing that spawn rate and making them a little bit easier to kill, like, I'm fine if they send 5 chargers at me if I can kill them a lot easier, but they were just so hard to kill. Like, it took so many rockets, and it felt like using the expendable anti-tank rockets or the recoilless rocket launcher was just, it wasn't a good option. So I would never pick those options against the Terminids, because if I shot a charger with it, it wouldn't do anything to it. So, that's a good change, and yeah, I'm all for it. I think this was a pretty good update.
Yeah, it was definitely needed. The chargers, I mean, if you feel like you have to drop a stratagem for each charger, basically, I think that's a major problem. It's one thing if it's the Bile Titan, because they're as big as they are, but if you have 6 at the same time, I don't think they ever were really intending for that to happen. So it's a good response, especially with all the hate that was coming out from the last patch, which we've had about a week to digest now.
And this segues me into the final point that I want to talk about in today's video, and it's this Reddit post that was getting pretty popular, and it says, "I hope that the community learns from this week and is less hysterical in the future. There was a lot of toxicity, doom, and gloom regarding the first balance patch. Less than a week later, the state of the game is that the meta has evolved, is now infinitely more diverse than what it was a week ago. The railguns got changed," and he basically just summarizes that the community overreacts and stuff. And I completely agree. I think when things get nerfed and things get changed, people aren't happy. They have their favorite weapon, they that's what they go with, they pick it every single match, and then they don't like variety. And this game, it's obvious now that the developers want to see a meta that's changing constantly, and they want this weapon to be on top, and then a week later maybe that weapon's no longer on top. And I think this keeps it fresh and interesting. I had no reason to pick the flamethrower before the latest update. Then they made it super strong, and I'm picking the flamethrower all the time, and I'm not picking the railgun as much. And I think people jump the gun because, we see that we're getting new content, we're getting new enemy types, we're getting flying creatures or like this new enemy faction, and people are like, well, we don't have the stuff to take out these enemies, and we're not prepared. But they're also like, they have all these other things that they're planning on adding, like grenade launchers, and it's been leaked that they're adding vehicles and like warthogs, and they added the mech suits. Everybody freaked out in this last patch about the nerfs to the railgun and stuff, but then a couple days later we got the mech suit, and the mech suit's amazing. So it's like they nerf one thing, but they don't leave us with just nerfs. They buff other things to kind of make up for it. So everything's sort of rotating, and if they make the game harder, obviously they listen to player feedback, and they will make nerfs accordingly. So I definitely think that the community tends to overreact when it comes to these balancing updates.
Yeah, that patch was really the first time we had nerfs really implemented into the game, like major nerfs. And it was interesting. I did not expect the community to be that passionately against it as they were. A lot of them, I shouldn't say the whole community, but people were very outspoken about it.
Oh, they were hostile.
They were very outspoken, very hostile, and even get into arguments with the devs who had their own iffy responses to things. But overall, it's good to see the game still doing just fine. There were a lot of threats that this would destroy the game. That obviously hasn't happened. And I think that you do want to keep the game fresh. And I think it's probably a good sign that the developers didn't completely give in to all the demands. I mean, they didn't really give in at all. They basically just changed one aspect of it that people were saying was one of the reasons why these nerfs are a problem, and they changed that aspect, but they didn't change any of the nerfs. The railgun's still the same, the breaker's still the same. It's an interesting response. I think it's probably the right response, and this game is very, very, very popular. So this might just be how it is. When you have this many people that love this game, you're gonna have these outspoken, major overreactions happening, and I guess that's just part of the deal. If you're going to be that big, I think this is just, I guess, part of what there is to be expected. Because in general, I think the community for this game has been outstanding compared to what I'm used to in video games. It's used to a lot more toxicity that I don't really see that much, and this was the first sign of any kind of toxicity. So I mean, I guess,
and you have to remember that the toxic people are going to be the loudest. That's how it is with every video game.
That's how it is with life. So that's also true. But so it was interesting to see it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But it's probably going to have a lot of hysteria every time that there's major nerfs. It's just nice to see that it didn't really affect the community. It didn't really affect the game. It's still doing quite well.
All right, so to close out the video, I wanted to briefly go over some of the top comments of our latest video. That way, if you guys like this sort of video that we're doing and you like these podcasts, we can sort of go over what the community's thinking and, in our videos, and just sort of highlight your guys' top comments and then make this a reoccurring thing. So we have this comment here from the Ivan Milky. He said, I think a lot more people were upset about the changes to enemy spawns and AI with the last patch than were upset about the railgun and the breaker nerfs. It just got turned into something it wasn't by a minority of people, and then they said in parentheses, which unfortunately I do think is influencing the devs. Which I kind of agree here. The minority speaks the loudest, people are upset, and then the developers see that it's getting a lot of traction on Reddit and stuff, and then they make changes to the game based on that, and that can have some pretty negative effects long term.
I was gonna say, I don't think it necessarily did affect the devs that much. I think it bothered them, as in like they reacted badly to it, but as far as actual changes to the game, I think they found a good middle ground. I don't think they overchanged based on that outspoken nature. I don't know if that's exactly what the comment was going for, but I don't think the devs necessarily reacted badly to it, I guess. Well,
they got a little defensive in
that part was badly.
Update.
Yes, that's if that's what they're talking about, then definitely that was not a good way to handle it.
Then we have this post from Tangy Horizon. People need to stop being so hard on the devs. They have had one of the hardest launches this year because of how many people play the game. The least they can do is be patient. It isn't all going to be ironed out overnight. You knew that when you bought the game. Now give them a break. And I kind of agree with this too. I mean, they definitely did not expect as many players as what they got. They had all the server issues, and now that they finally got the servers under control, now they're trying to do balancing changes. They're trying to add new content. Now we're finally getting that steady flow of content every other Thursday. We're supposed to be getting new weapons and stuff. And based off of all the leaks, it looks like they're going to be rolling out a ton of future content updates, and I do think that the people are a little bit too hard on the devs, and if they make a change and people don't like it, if enough people don't like that, then they can just change it back. It's not that big of a deal. People get their pitchforks out a little bit too early with this game, I think.
They definitely did. I mean, the developers, I think, have done a fantastic job so far, and it has been a very strange launch because it was way bigger than expected. A good problem to have, but yeah, like we said, it also is really just representing a small part of the community. I think the major part of the community is very thankful for what the devs have done, and it's just those people are loudest. I think that is very much the truth here too.
Yeah. Well, that is going to do it for everything in this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, then please let us know down in the comment section down below. And give this video a thumbs up. It helps us out in the algorithm. The algorithm has been a massive pain lately. It's not been showing our videos to people. I don't know why. So give this video a thumbs up so people can see it. And yeah, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think. That way your guys' you have a potential for your top comments to be in future videos. So that's going to do it for us, and we will talk to you guys in the next Helldivers 2 update video. So, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.